Hello,
Hello, everyone.
I'm Ashleigh,
And I'm Toniah.
and you're listening to another episode of
Hue I Do.
the podcast brought to you by your favorite cousins on the bride side. Welcome to another episode of Hue I Do, the podcast that's going to tell you all about the latest and greatest trends within the honeymoon space. So, of course, like we were saying before we hit record, the honeymoon is the best part of wedding planning because there's not a lot of stress around it. It's, the majority of the stress is actually in the planning of the wedding and all of those things. The honeymoon is the celebration of being past that, but truthfully being married to your person. And so we have the honeymoon expert here to chat with us again. You might have remembered our episode with her about 2 years ago, but of course we had to bring her back. And so, yes, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. I'm Sara Margulis. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Honeyfund, the wedding registry that makes your dream honeymoon happen. I'm so excited to share all of that's going on in the super hot honeymoon space right now.
Awesome. We are so excited to chat with you, and you're definitely someone that our listeners are very aware of because pretty much everybody has a honey fund.
I love that. Love that.
I was talking to my mom earlier today, and I was saying, we're recording tonight, and I was telling her that you were coming back, and she was like, "Oh, I remember when your friend had a honey fund," and I was like, "That's right." And she was like, "Wait, actually, so and so also has one." I'm like, "Exactly." And then more people just kept coming to mind. I'm like, "Yeah, because honey fund is the go-to girl when it comes to your registry." And so we're super excited because we don't talk a lot about honeymoons, like. Outside of your episode, I don't think we've had a lot of conversations around the honeymoon. So I'm really excited for us to dive into those trends in a second. But before we do that, for those that don't know, kind of how did you even start Honeyfund? How did this even all come together? Like, let the good people know.
All right. So Honeyfund was started in 2006, if you can believe that. We just turned 18 in March. And it really started by me and my ex-husband. We were like planning our wedding. We had no money for the honeymoon. We were spending it all on the wedding. And we just thought, we don't need more stuff. Why don't we ask our friends and family to pitch in for our honeymoon? And our friends and family went crazy. They donated more than $5,000. They were raving about the concept. And they were like, other couples need this. You guys should think about starting a website. So within a year of our own wedding, Honeyfund was launched. And, the thing is, everybody that signs up invites 150 of their closest friends and family to the website. So it just grew on its own. And it was like just something people needed. And we've been so blessed to still be here, like making dream honeymoons happen.
It's definitely needed. A lot of couples don't get a chance to splurge, Well, of course, like they're splurging on their wedding, but they kind of like skimp out on their honeymoon at times. And so I really feel like this is definitely something that's needed. And that way, like you said, everyone can contribute.
And I was going to say, just with I feel like surgeons or just like everybody wants a destination wedding right now. I can see everybody wanting a honey fund right now as well, because it's like we're not feeling like we have to have a local wedding with 300 people or, like a lot of family members and people that we don't really have much of a relationship with. But let's just, do our own thing. And then also, if you want to help us with a dinner or, this excursion or something during our honeymoon, because that is going to go longer and mean way more than like a toaster when like a lot of couples are already living together. So they don't need a lot of the traditional registry items anyway.
Okay, both of you are hired. Let's just go make honeymoons happen.
But I also want to note that those individuals who are doing the destination weddings, they're still taking honeymoon. And so, even though we're in a whole nother country, they're like, okay, we're going to leave, but we're going to go to a different part of the country, or we're going to go to the Caribbean, or we're going to go and do this. And so I'm actually like, I love to see it, because it's like, people usually think, oh, well, since you're doing a destination, that's going to be 2 in 1, like your honeymoon and your wedding. But no, they're like, no, we're also going to take this vacation for ourselves as well. So, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel like ever since the pandemic, and anything destination is just on fire, because people were just stuck at home for so many years, and they did everything they could possibly do to their house, because that's all there was to do. And so now they're just like, I don't need anything else. I got the best espresso machine possible, because that was the only one I could have during COVID. I don't need anything else. Let's just go take a trip, and let's go bigger. Let's go longer. Let's go farther. Let's go more exotic. So yeah, it's like I said, it's on fire right now.
And that makes this, even as we're like about to approach the summer and the warmer months, I feel like even a better time for us to have this conversation, because no matter where someone is in their wedding planning process, no matter what time they get married, the honeymoon is always going to be something they need to think about and consider. And we don't always hear about the wedding or the honeymoon trends, rather. Like we'll read 1,000 articles about like wedding trends, but let's, get into the honeymoon trends. But first, before we do that, of course, we're going to move into everyone's favorite part of the episode, where we play this or that, everyone's favorite game, where basically you choose between one option or the other and explain why. And Sara, because you're our very special guest, we're going to let you go first. And then Toniah, it'll be your turn. Then I'll wrap it up. And we'll do 2 quick rounds so we could get straight into the conversation. But is everybody ready? Ready for this or that?
Ready.
Yes.
Nervous already.
Yes. All right. So to start, think about this as like it's the first full day of the honeymoon. So you've arrived at whatever destination, you've had a good night's rest. And so would you prefer that the first day is a couple spa where you have massages and facials and, just like the whole slow down ambiance of it all, right? Or would you prefer to do a private horseback excursion through a beautiful remote part of your honeymoon destination?
Oh, Ashleigh, I want to do all of the things and none of the things at the same time. Like, first day, I honestly really think is for just doing nothing. Like, if you can just chill, just stare at some rocks and some bushes for a minute and like come down off of that, honeymoon, off of that wedding planning, like craziness and the travel day and everything. So if I had to pick one thing, I'd probably go for the spa, just because it lets you like zen out for a minute and then build up my energy for horseback riding.
Okay. I like that. I like that idea. Toniah?
Now, I really wish you would have said day 2, because I would have wanted to do the horseback riding and then the spa. But because you said day 1, I'd rather relax on that day, because who knows how far you traveled, and who knows if there was any delays on, with the flights, because these days there's been delays, there's been cancellations. And so, of course, once I get off the plane, I want to be able to relax. And so, of course, I'm going to choose the spa. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with both of you for the same reasons. I'm tired. I don't want to do much of anything, but if I have to do something, I'll do the spa, because it's also probably not too far from wherever we're staying in the first place. Okay. All on the same page. Round 2. So this is night 3 of a 5-day honeymoon. So we're kind of right in the middle. Would you prefer to go to this highly rated restaurant where you have this romantic candlelit dinner. It's a restaurant that you've seen maybe on TikTok, or you've seen it, pop up a few times, and you're like, the food looks good. It has a good ambiance. But after y'all go there, sadly, you come down with food poisoning and you have to cancel the rest of your honeymoon activities. Or would you prefer to take a breathtaking stroll, sunset, it's very, very romantic, but you walk into the swarm of mosquitoes that decide to bite you all the way up, leaving you extremely bitten and sore and lumpy, and obviously very frustrated. So which one would you prefer? The food poisoning from the wonderful restaurant, or the mosquito bites all over your body from the beautiful stroll?
Girl, this is like gross out edition. Okay. I don't want to cancel the rest of my trip. I think I'm going to go with some mosquito bites, because I can still lay around, maybe go back to that spa for a mud bath or something like that. Get some soothing treatment. But I'm still there.
Yeah, it's a good one.
How about you, Toniah?
Obviously, I'm going to choose the mosquitoes, because what? Like, I was just like, where did you come up with this? Or like, how did you even come up with this? Because, I mean, granted, these are things that can actually happen, but what?
Right.
Okay, yeah, definitely I'm gonna just go on this little stroll, but hopefully I have some type of bug spray, but sometimes bug spray doesn't do its job, 100%. But yeah. Anyways, I'm just gonna go with the mosquito bites. Mm-hmm. How about you?
I think I will as well. Just because I don't want to cancel the rest of my trip as well. I mean, you can maybe you could still do stuff with mosquito bites. It just may be a little bit uncomfortable, but nobody likes food poisoning, because that sometimes is not an easy thing to get over. And then especially if you have to get on the plane and head back and you still may be sick from that.
The only thing it's good for is you lose a few pounds.
That is true. That is very true. That is, yeah. I mean, someone listening may be like, I hate mosquitoes. I'm like so afraid of mosquitoes. I will take the food poisoning.
I mean, but then also there may be some individuals who are allergic, and so that may end their trip as well. So,
yeah. But hey, giving us so much to think about, Ashleigh.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to leave you both thinking and, just kind of keep you on your toes, because we haven't had that level of a this or that in a while. And, stuff happens. Next level.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But now that we're past that, because we're definitely all on the same page for both rounds, we could finally get into what everyone has come here to hear. All about honeymoon trends. So what are people doing? What aren't they doing as much? What are you seeing just overall? Because as we all know, the pandemic changed things, but outside of that, just how couples have evolved and shifted throughout the years, that has also, I would imagine, influenced how honeymoons have evolved. I mean, it's not always just like driving an hour up the road or staying at the hotel where you got married anymore and just enjoying the rest of that weekend. Like, we're spending thousands of dollars essentially on a good vacation with our spouse. So yeah, I'm super excited to hear about all of that. So for us to get started, how have honeymoon preferences evolved over the years? And what factors do you believe are driving those changes?
Yeah, I would say, even before pandemic, I felt like social media was driving a big shift in how people choose to spend their honeymoon. It's kind of less like, let's just go to an all-inclusive and sit on the beach. And it's more like, let's go to these cities and get these pictures with, all the sites and do like these elaborate things, kind of like how proposals have changed with social media. Like things have gotten way more elaborate than they used to be. But then the pandemic really, I think, took us into a trend where people are going farther. So, for example, Italy took over Hawaii as our number one destination last year. And then this year, actually, Japan is kind of coming in hot. So people are getting more farther away from home and more exotic, more like different from the life they lead every day. And they're taking a longer trip as well, and they're spending more on the honeymoon and less on the wedding. Like they're literally kind of like shifting budget over to the honeymoon to really make it like fancy and memorable and over the top. So those are some trends we've noticed.
Wow. I want to talk about the Tokyo piece. Like that to me is so interesting. The Italy makes sense. I feel like I've started to notice more people talking about Italy overall as like a destination for the wedding, but also just to go. But Tokyo, that's interesting.
Yeah, it seems like Japan has this like nice combination of modern sort of first world experience with like ancient traditions and beautiful landscapes and like exotic temples, and so you get a little bit of everything in Japan, and the natural beauty too. It's really stunning. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of people taking up Japan, and I mean we've had couples go to Japan for years and years, but it was always like just a handful, and now we're seeing a lot more couples do it.
That's really interesting, because I wouldn't even have like thought of that being a honeymoon destination, to be honest. And so
because you think of like the islands or Mexico or something, right? Tropical.
Interesting. Okay, are there
I mean there's still plenty of tropical going on, Costa Rica. Puerto Rico is actually one of my favorite trending destinations. I went there for the first time a few months ago, and you don't need a passport to go to Puerto Rico. It's U.S. territory. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful. The weather's awesome. There's hotels on the right on the coast. You've got all the shopping and wine tasting, and like some of the best bars in the world and restaurants in the world are in San Juan, and it's like just a national treasure.
It really is. I lived there for 2 years, and I enjoyed every bit of it. Well, partially, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, every destination has its challenges for sure. But, we've noticed a lot more couples, or that there's a need for passport-free honeymoons, which is really important because number one, getting a passport can be problematic, especially if you don't know where your birth certificate is and you have to go try to find it, because that's one of the requirements to get a passport. There's a lot of like technology that you have to jump through, especially if you're like applying online. You have to make an appointment at a post office during business hours. What if your job doesn't let you offer that? So we're really looking at how do we help couples who wouldn't otherwise be able to. I mean, there's a certain amount of privilege that goes into being able to travel internationally, right? Just getting the passport alone, right? So how do we help couples who maybe like aren't going to go through all those hoops, just have a great honeymoon? And you've got Hawaii, you've got Puerto Rico, you've got Florida, you've got California. There's so many wonderful places for couples in the U.S.
And speaking about the passports, there's only a couple of the passport agencies, like where you can actually go in person. I learned that because I recently had to get mine, and there's of course a hub in Atlanta, but the next closest city is New Orleans. And so I didn't realize that people actually travel to Atlanta or to New Orleans to get their passports, even if they don't live in that state, especially if they need it like within like a quick turnaround.
Wow.
I had no idea, but I had to get mine. And I just received mine actually last week.
So the trick there is like get your birth certificate first, like dig that up. That might take a while. And then make an appointment, at a post office or something for weeks ahead. So it's just all about having a lot of time to step through it all. Yeah,
definitely. All right. So are there any emerging trends in honeymoon accommodations and lodging preferences?
Yeah. So I was actually really shocked to find out we surveyed all of our 23 couples in Q1, and we learned that we asked them questions like, how are you booking your honeymoon? Are you using a travel agent? Are you doing it yourself? What kind of services are you using to do it? What websites and apps are you using? And we were shocked that Airbnb and like Vrbo were almost like nearly half of our couples were staying at vacation rentals and not
Wow.
hotels and resorts. And I was like, what? I had no idea it had gotten that big, right? But when you think about it, like, you know, a lot of times, especially around COVID, like, you know, you feel a little bit more isolated from other people. Let's say you have like a health concern. But even beyond that, just like you can buy food and cook in the place. You have more privacy. You know, I think there's a lot of reasons why couples are doing that, but I was really surprised by that one.
Same. I would have imagined it would have been more hotels or like more people not wanting to have to do a lot of those things like cooking or maybe even sometimes cleaning.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
But I also know that a lot of people, they want to like be in the community and be surrounded by those individuals who are from the local communities. And I really feel like, you know, like once you're within the community, you actually make friends much easier, to be honest. Because living in Puerto Rico, like I remember my family and I, we visited, but then like we like met people along the way and like they took us out to eat, like they took us to their families' houses. And it was just like, wow, like this wouldn't have happened in the States or like this wouldn't have happened, you know, I'm like anywhere else. And so I kind of feel like people want to experience the actual community.
Themselves. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the other thing too, I think is as like we see people shifting more towards like European destinations like Italy, it's actually cheaper to stay at those places at an Airbnb or vacation rental in Europe than it is to get a hotel. Hotel rooms are really expensive in like major European cities. So that's another reason I thought maybe people are gravitating towards vacation rentals.
That too. Because those fees.
Interesting.
The hotel fees are crazy.
Yeah.
I know. And then you have to buy every meal from a restaurant, you know, it just gets really expensive.
A lot of hotels, they don't like, they got rid of like the free continental breakfast and stuff, or like the free breakfast. And so now, I noticed that, or I'm noticing that. So.
Interesting. Well, let's talk about the trends for honeymoon activities. What trends are you noticing within these different honeymoon experiences?
Yeah, we're seeing a ton of like food tours where you kind of like get the local, again, to your point, Toniah, like let's get into the local community and like taste the flavors and meet the people and sit around their tables. And so these like custom food tours where a local will take you to like the best restaurants and bars, places where locals really enjoy. That's one. I think like craft beer, wine tasting, all of that is just huge. Like in Ireland, you're going to go whiskey tasting, or Scotland, you know, like all that kind of like whatever the local specialty, you know, alcohol is, you're going to see a lot of that. Cooking classes with like local chef. And then another trend that I think is really cool that's kind of more, I think, a result of like technology is like e-bikes. If you guys haven't been e-biking, that's super fun. It's basically like assisted bicycles. So the e-bikes basically help you with the pedaling and you can go farther and just explore, which is really fun. And then lastly, I commented on an article for New York Times recently about this trend with like wellness retreats. So we're seeing like, that was in the context of like bachelorette parties, like less boozy kind of getaways and more like wellness focused. And I see that also happening with honeymoons. Like couples are spending time doing things that are like rejuvenating for them and not like draining them.
I like that.
I've been hearing a lot about like the wellness retreats and stuff. That's become really popular.
And it's just like something fun to do that you're not going to have a hangover the next day.
Yeah. I like that. I may have to look into that. Note to self. Okay.
Note to self. Maybe that's your honeymoon, Ashleigh.
I know. It'll have to happen before the next time you come back, I'm sure.
All right. So what advice can experts offer to couples planning their honeymoons to ensure they have a memorable and fulfilling experience?
Yeah, so we talked about the passport stuff, which I think is really important. And I just commented in an article for People magazine about like, how do you like avoid the common pitfalls of, you know, honeymoon planning? I think number one is just start early. And that's true for the passport, but also true for the airline tickets and the Airbnb reservations. You're going to have a lot more selection if you get started early, like 6 to 9 months ahead of when you're going. Make sure that you bring some essentials. I know we were joking about the mosquitoes, but honestly, like bug spray, sunscreen, stuff like that. Especially if you're staying at an all-inclusive, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg if you forget that stuff. You're paying like $20 for a bottle of sunscreen. So make sure you pack your essentials, sunscreen, bug spray, your makeup, deodorant, all that stuff, because the on-site stores are pretty expensive. And then, make sure you're just considering the weather in the location you're going, and the time of year. Like, everybody wants to go to Hawaii, but there are times that when Hawaii is just going to be rainy and not as fun as if you go in another part of the year. A little nicer. Or like in Florida, if you're going in July, that's going to be like super hot. Like, you probably don't want to go there in July. So, because you're booking so far in advance, just make sure you find some information about typical weather trends for that time of year. And then we were talking about all the fun excursions. Definitely make sure you book those in advance too, because the really fun, interesting ones, the trendy ones, the ones that you see on TikTok and Instagram are going to book out really early.
I believe that definitely your planning definitely makes a huge difference. But if you like to plan things when you get to the city, I mean, that's cool too. But
yeah, there's plenty to do. It's just like the really, really cool stuff will probably be booked up.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
Yeah. And then you do, I mean, that's a really good point, Toniah. You really do need to leave a little bit of wiggle room for spontaneity, because like you said, you're going to meet locals, you're going to go to a place, you're going to find out something's going on that you wouldn't have been able to find online, and you want to be able to do that. So I always say bring a little extra spending money for the spontaneous opportunities that come up.
Definitely true. I find that, although, the activities or the restaurants that you see online, although the reviews are 5 stars and, everyone is raving about them, I promise you there's going to be someone within the community that's going to be like, I know a better place. And so,
and it's cheaper, and I got my guy, and tell him you know me, and the whole thing.
Don't worry, we'll take care of you. No worries.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like whenever you go to a foreign country, they're like, no worries, no stress, you're okay, just live.
I love it. I know.
All right, so we have a few more questions. Outside of everything you've shared so far, what are some other honeymoon trends that you've noticed?
So we are super excited. We're actually starting our mission-based work this year, which is getting more couples on their honeymoon or a honeymoon style trip. And this is why, Ashleigh, I will never let you get away without actually going on your honeymoon. Our research shows that couples who took a honeymoon are more likely to be happily married more than a decade later than couples who didn't take a honeymoon. And the couples who continue to travel together also tend to be happier in their marriages. So, when you think about travel is a time to bond, it's time away from the stress and pressure of everyday life. You're not like, honey, did you pick up the dish soap or not? So it's like that stuff goes away and you just get to focus on the romantic connection. And so we're really the trends that we're really pushing for is second honeymoons, baby moons, anniversary trips, milestone birthday trips. And we're building into the platform the ability to have, Honeyfund for that next celebration that's going to take you on a romantic trip. So it's so much fun. We're having the best time.
Oh, I love that.
I absolutely love that idea.
We're definitely seeing, I was going to say, I know we're seeing so many baby moons, every quarter somebody's popping up pregnant. And so then as either closer to the baby coming and or before they go back to work, I'm noticing that type of trip as well, where it's, I guess, kind of like a post-baby moon.
I love that.
Hey, we're celebrating becoming parents, and we took this quick trip before you had to go back to work.
I like that. Yeah, anything that gets couples traveling together, I'm all for it.
I'm already planning my baby moon, and I'm not pregnant yet, but I'm already planning it. So you've just given me an idea, and I'm happy that you all are expanding, because that will be on my future registry.
There you go. Yeah, your baby registry
Yes.
now will have like baby moon
Yes.
contributions. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Ooh,
I love that idea.
I love that as well.
All right. So last question. What honeymoon trends do you think are on the decline?
This is a tough one. I mean, with the rise of all the Airbnb bookings and stuff, that means, hotels are kind of a little on the decline. But at the same time, I feel like there's just more honeymoons in general. So there's more to go around. I think that, I think we touched on it earlier, like the tacking a few days onto your destination wedding in the same location is probably on the decline. Like we're looking for like a second destination to go on a honeymoon, even if we had a destination wedding, which I think is really cool. And then I think, a lot of people have to postpone their honeymoon for a lot of reasons. And I think being able to take it 6 months later versus not taking it at all is the right choice. But I do think that people are tending to postpone less just because we've learned through the pandemic, like life is in the here and now, and you just never know if the next day is promised or not. So you just got to make it happen.
Very true.
Very,
very true.
I recently attended a wedding, and both of the individuals, they are both doctors. And so they took a week off for the actual wedding and like all the festivities and stuff. But they won't be taking their honeymoon until July, because around that time period is where like the residencies, they start back up. So like in their minds, they were like, there's going to be more people around. So if we leave, they won't really miss us. You know what I mean? And so, and so they were like, yeah, we're going to just make sure we go in July. And so, in my mind, I was like, oh, that's really smart. I think like they're getting away from, okay, well, after the wedding, we don't have to go on this honeymoon. We can wait until when it's more convenient for, both of our schedules to do so. Because to be honest, like you're already taking a lot of time off for the wedding in itself. And the PTO is not PTO like it used to in the past. So I get it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that there's a lot of risk factors for why couples won't honeymoon. And there's, everything from like where they live and their family culture. It's just not something people do, or their friends and family wouldn't have the money to contribute, or they have a job that is really hard to get out of, or just like super vital, they can't miss it. And so, we just try to help our couples get through as many of those as they can. We help them out with the funds, scheduling. I always say, like, your boss is never going to say no to your honeymoon PTO request. If in the worst case scenario, they'll be like, can we do it at this time instead of this time? But even then, it's just kind of expected you're going to do it around your wedding, and it's not like you're going to move your wedding for work. So I just always say, like, even though it might feel like it's a hardship on your company to ask for it, it's kind of a free pass when it's your wedding and honeymoon. So no harm in asking, right?
No harm in asking. All right. Well, thank you so much for answering all of our questions. We definitely learned a lot. But now we're going to move into the wedding vendor love. Sara, who would you like to shout out this week?
All right. There's so many amazing people in the wedding space that I really, really love, but I'm going to give my shout outs to more honeymoon focused ones today. First of all, just shout out to Sandals. I've always loved Sandals. I've been to some of their properties in Jamaica. They're opening 2 new resorts this year. One's in Curacao, which is a place that I really want to check out in the Caribbean. And then the other one's in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And they've always got amazing deals on their bookings. And it's all inclusive, and it's adults only, and it's made for lovers. And so it's like, if that's your thing, like, let's go to a tropical place and just get pampered for a week. Like, definitely check out Sandals.
We definitely love an adult only vacation.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Well, Sara, again, thank you for coming on and chatting with us. For those that don't follow Honeyfund, though, I feel like that's maybe like one person listening. I don't know who that would truly be. But for anybody that is not aware of all the things that y'all have going on, please plug all of that, plus where they can find you.
Yeah, we're Instagram and TikTok, #1. We've got so much great content. We've got, travel deals, inspiration, tips and tricks about how to make your Honeyfund work for you better. So check us out there. And that's just at Honeyfund. And then our website, honeyfund.com, and we have an app in the app stores. And just get yourself a Honeyfund. What's the worst that can happen? You might end up with a few $1,000s and go on your dream honeymoon.
That's always the best case scenario. For sure. For sure.
It's just so convenient.
Absolutely love
it's
that.
Just so convenient because, you know, there are times where you may forget to get a gift. And with the Honeyfund, you can just go on your phone and
do it in the pew. I literally have had people tell me like they were giving their Honeyfund gift in the pew waiting for the wedding to start. I'm like,
you'll never know.
So easy.
Super convenient. I love that. And even if they are paying attention to the time, they don't really care because you got them something. So it's like,
oh my God.
Thank you so much. We will put that towards dinner or the spa or, you know, the non-mosquito bitten.
And it's so fun. It's like the best gift to open. You know, you're just like, oh my God, we're actually going on that excursion or we're actually getting that upgrade or whatever. You know, it's like the build up is so exciting. And the guests getting to be part of it is really special.
I love that. I love that so much. Again, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. To all of our wonderful listeners, we know you enjoyed this episode, but definitely let us know if you have. You can definitely do so by heading to Apple Podcasts and leaving a review or heading to Spotify and giving us a few stars. 5 would be nice, but it's completely up to you. But we will see y'all all next week. Bye. Don't forget to follow us everywhere you can. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even YouTube. You can find us at HUIDOWED, which is Hue I Do Wed, or at Hue I Do Pod, which is HUEIDOPOD, on pretty much any of those platforms. In addition to that, if you want to know more about any of the amazing wedding vendors we've shouted out, or any of the really cool wedding vendors we've had on the show as guests, or just some awesome wedding vendors in general that maybe you don't know of, head to find.hueido.com. There, you're going to find over 600 wedding vendors that can help take you to your happily ever after. And no matter where you listen to Hue I Do, if you could, please leave us a review. It will help other bride-to-bes and other people in the wedding planning space find a podcast that speaks to them as much as Hue I Do speaks to you.